I was listening to the story about, it was a story of a family in Washington, and the little boy called the Bigfoot the cowboy man. And he had, apparently it had made an effort to steal this kid. And it hit me. My children were in that playpen behind me with nothing but a mosquito net over them. It could have crept up behind me and taken both of my children, and I wouldn't have known.
Father just got like a Mustang or something from Wyoming, okay? He had it out in the corral because he couldn't put it in the barn in the stalls with the other horses that would kick and made all the other horses nervous. Had a Seminole Indian working the horse trying to break it every day. So they had it out in the corral. This skunk ape snuck up behind this horse and grabbed it on its hind quarters. This particular horse kicks out, jumps over the corral, runs into the pasture, to get away. At this point, the rancher's out there just blasted away with the 30-30. Skunk ape runs into the swamp.
I went up there one day after that, or 2 days after that. I went up there and sat in the silence up there, and I'm telling you, man, it was free. It was crazy. There was a crazy vibe up there still. I did what I could to kind of get things under control, but I told her, I said, you need to get off this property. I feel like no matter how strong you are, it's almost like standing in the ocean. You can't stand still without moving your feet. You're going to get knocked over eventually, no matter how strong, whatever. You can't withstand a barrage of weird spiritual energy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Paranormal Odyssey. I am your host, Wayne, joined as always by my partner in crime, Miss Tiffany. How you doing, ma'am?
Fabulous. Just fabulous. Always glad to be with you on a Saturday, and all our peeps and our fantabulous guest. I'm so excited.
We've been sitting back there chatting it up with Chad for about 30 minutes now, and we completely lost track of time. Hit me with about 2 minutes to go before we're supposed to go live. I'm like, oh shit, I haven't gotten anything ready yet. So we had to do a rapid fire, get Chad ready to go kind of thing. But we are here. He is backstage and waiting to get started. How you doing, ma'am? Anything exciting happened to you this weekend?
Yes, very exciting. A little too much excitement for my ticker. Yeah. So most everybody in here is on Discord with us, so they know that last night, Zach and I were in our room, and Carrie was in her room. And we're sitting there doing what we always do because we're old geezers. We just sit there, and I will listen to podcasts in color, and he'll play his game, and we have the TV on in the background. But about 10:20-ish, we hear these two extremely loud bam, bam up against the front door. Well, at first, we thought Carrie had done something. And then Carrie thought that we had done something. So Zach hollers at her, and I'm like, I don't think that was Carrie. I think that was coming from outside. So the only thing we could figure, because Wayne, honey, I'm telling you, this whole entire house shook. It vibrated the chairs that we were in. It made me like kind of scream a little bit because you just don't expect it. So Zach went and got his, and he, was like, I'm just going to get an officer out here. I just don't have a good feeling about this. And so he was on the phone with dispatch, and she asked him if he had one, and he said, yeah, but I'm not putting it away until an officer gets here. So we had two further up the mountain, and then two coming further down Cave Spring. And so one went up to the dead end up there above our house, and then we had the other two come to our house, and they searched the whole perimeter. He heard the two male voices. It was just really muffled, and but we have a neighbor that lives, we live on a downslope, so we have a neighbor up there. He's a real tool, but anytime you hear a car running or voices, it's always them. Wouldn't think anything about it until there were kicks on our door trying to get in. So
And y'all weren't just exaggerating. There were actually paint
Mm.
chips.
Yes,
in.
there were paint chips. I sent pictures. There's pictures on Discord. I think I texted you pictures of the paint chips. It knocked the our trim. Now our door's not wooden. It's like really thick. I don't know the word for it, but it's similar to that of a fire door. But when there were those two kicks, I'm assuming directly dead center of the door. If it was a wood door, it would have taken it down because it was kicked hard. So when they kicked the door, when we opened the door when the cops were here, there were paint chips laying right there in our foyer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A bunch of us were on Discord last night talking, and then you just vanished. And you texted me privately and kind of told me what was going on, told me not to say nothing just yet because the police were out there, but it took all I had not to say anything to the guys on Discord. And like, where did Tiffany go?
I just knew that there would be questions, and we didn't even have the answer for them ourselves yet. But I have the whole entire house is lit up like the noon a day. I sent you a picture. Yeah, it is, what it is. And I'm going to be on the show. So if anything happens, I mean, it's live recorded. This is the best damn live TV show you'll get.
I hope that 40 cal is ready to go near you somewhere.
It is in a place.
It is. That's all we got to say is it is, in case anybody's watching and gets any kind of idea. The 40 cal is within reach. So if you come knocking, you're going to get pew pew.
Yeah. But like Zach said, we'll be okay. I mean, and he said this morning, it was probably just a one-off. We've not ever had anything like that happen here before. It's usually a very quiet neighborhood, and it's just a bunch of punks, really. I have no doubt.
Tweakers be tweaking.
I'm telling you, tweakers be tweaking. But yeah,
glad everything worked out for you guys.
Yeah.
And thank God for that door. I mean, thank God that Zach was home.
Oh my gosh. I know. I was like, I'm so glad this happened when you were here. It doesn't work like that. In our marriage, if anything happens, he is always on the medic unit. So I'm thankful that it worked it worked in my favor this time, and he was home, and I didn't have to call the cops and then call him and say, hey, I'm just gonna let you know.
Yeah.
So but no, we are A-okay, and we are gonna be A-okay, and it more makes me mad than anything now.
Yeah, I'm sure Zach's right. It's just a one-off thing. Somebody saw a house that, like you said, y'all park in the garage. Thought no one was home, so it was a Friday night. They're going to try to break in and steal something, and then it didn't work out that way for them. So,
yeah.
All right, you want to pay some bills?
Well, I mean, not really, but I guess we kind of have to.
All right, guys, if y'all are new to the show tonight, it's your first time, we are glad to have you, but we ask that you please take just a second, hit that subscribe button, and keep coming back. Tell your friends, tell your family, help us spread the word and continue growing the show. But it starts with hitting that subscribe button.
And if you would like to come on with Wayne and I, you can absolutely reach out to both of us, Wayne at paranormalworldproductions.com, or myself, Tiffany at Paranormal World Productions. We are currently booking for July, so keep that in mind when you reach out to us, but we would love to hear from you.
I want to ask everybody to head over to paranormalworldproductions.com, check out our website. As Miss Tiffany shared on Facebook yesterday or day before or something, they are doing a sale on all of our merch. So if you want to pick you up a Paranormal Odyssey t-shirt, you can get one for $16. I mean, you can't beat that. And they're good quality. I've got 4 of them hanging up in my closet right now, all different colors. And I've washed them many times. They haven't lost their shape, their feel. They haven't shrunk. It's good quality stuff. So I would love to see some more people in Paranormal Odyssey shirts. So head over to the website and you can do that from there, as well as check out all the other shows.
And if you have any questions for our guest, Mr. Chad, you can put them in all capital letters and we will grab all of them and put them in our highlighted area. If we happen to miss them, just give us a little bit and re-enter them and we'll grab them. Just put them in all capital letters.
All right. And before I get into this, I do want to recognize Mr. J. Charlotte became a member right before we went live tonight. Thank you so very much. He promised me that he would, and he held up his end of the deal. So I appreciate that. So with that spot being filled, we have 7 left. If you're new to the show tonight and you want to get in on this drawing, over there on our homepage, right beside the subscribe, you should see a join button. Click on that join button and become a member. It's $1.99 a month. And after 50 people have signed up, and like I said, now we are at 43. After we hit 50, all of those names are going to go into a drawing. We're going to draw one name, and that person will win a Yeti lunchbox, a Paranormal Odyssey t-shirt of your choosing, size and color, an autographed copy of The Unfamiliars, written by Miss Tiffany herself, and an autographed copy of one of Naomi Finn's book. All of that will be yours, all for making the decision to sign up for a $1.99 show. I mean, not only that, I mean, all the extra content you get, we've got to where we've been doing a members only just about every week. So there's plenty on there for you guys to go back and catch up on. We have the Discord, as we were mentioning before, where we all hang out. It's a cool little family. We're going to have to send Jay a copy of or a link to get into our Discord. So, Jay, shoot me an email to Wayne at paranormalworldproductions.com and I will send you a link to get in. You could do that right now if you want to, and then after the show I'll send it. We normally, after every show or before the shows, we get on there and hang out. It's just a cool little perk that a lot of shows don't have that we do. But yeah, anybody that wants to take advantage of that, we would love to have you. Again, it's just $1.99 a month. It helps out so very much. You guys have been showing out with the supers again this month, and I am very happy to announce that we will be getting a check from YouTube for the 3rd straight month. Before that, I had only gotten one. So you guys have been helping us out so much. There's only 3 days left in the month. There's one more goal that y'all could help us reach. We've never hit 200 in a month, and we're at about 130, I think, right now. So any guys wanted to show out tonight and help us out, help us hit that 200, we would greatly appreciate it. If not, you've done enough. We love you. We thank you. But the super stickers are available there. If you guys can help us out, help us reach our goal, we would appreciate it. All right. You got anything else, ma'am?
No.
I know your possible or almost home invasion story took up some time, so we'll have to make up for that on the back end, because we got Mr. Chad standing by, and guys, what he's going to be talking about tonight is going to blow you away. Some of the stuff he was talking about had my jaw dropped. I was not expecting it. He's going to be talking about his time in New Orleans, but why he was there and all of that good stuff. I can't wait for you to hear, because it's amazing. So if you're ready, man, we're going to go ahead and bring Chad on.
Absolutely.
All right. Chad is not only a hell of a guy, but he's a friend of the show. He is a big supporter of the show. He is former military. So before we bring him out, I want to thank him for his service. Thank you so very much, Chad. And here he is. I think. Where's he at?
He's back there.
There he is. Chad, what's up, buddy?
What's happening, guys? It's daylight here in California.
Oh.
It is not daylight here in Tennessee.
Hey, I got to give me some Paranormal Odyssey swag, I know, but I figured I'd still show some love.
Awesome. We love seeing it. If you're not gonna wear a Paranormal Odyssey shirt, I'd rather you wear a Sasquatch Odyssey shirt.
Yeah, I'll get you. I
Yeah.
was looking it up right now before we went on live, so I'll be ordering one tonight.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, bud. I appreciate that. All right. Again, well, real quick, Alex, thank you very much, buddy, for that $5 super sticker. We appreciate it. Guys, don't let Alex show you up. But yeah, Chad, first off, thank you very much for your service. You were in the Army. Everything that you did, all the sacrifices that you made are not unappreciated. We thank you.
I appreciate you, and it's it's the greatest job I ever had, man. And I didn't want to get out. I got medically retired, got hurt in Afghanistan, and it career ended at 13 years. And
13
I
years.
wanted to go 20. I had plans and whatnot, but the universe had a different plan.
That's awesome. That's crazy, man. Yeah, but we're gonna be talking about New Orleans tonight, and your path to New Orleans is from the Army, right? Why don't you start us from the beginning? What were you doing when you found out you were going to be going, and what happened while you were there?
So I was on leave for my first deployment, and I'd gone out with my buddies back in my hometown here in Bakersfield, California, and went out drinking to the bars and everything. And when I came back, I remember sitting on my dad's recliner, eating all their food because they were asleep, and I had been drinking all night, want to have some munchies. So I went and I turned on the CNN or Fox or one of those stations, and the big story at the time was Hurricane Katrina. So I just became mesmerized by this whole topic. And for the last 4 days of my leave, all I would talk about was this storm. And, some people cared, a lot of people didn't, but I was completely consumed with it, because those of us who remember watching that giant storm just come up, and the evacuation process and the constant newsreels, it was wild. So then I go back, and within, I want to say, a day or two, I get told, hey, you and about 90 other guys are going to be going down to New Orleans for the Hurricane Katrina relief. And it was so surreal to me, because now I get to go. It's like watching a movie and then suddenly you're in the movie, right? Because everything I had been seeing, now I'm going to be right there in the thick of it. So for me, it was very surreal. And we left out of out of my duty station, and we got to a naval air station next to New Orleans, like just in the vicinity of New Orleans. If someone knows the name of it, I don't even remember the name of it, but we landed there, and they start transporting us into New Orleans. And I remember as we landed at that air base, it was just tons of helicopters coming back and forth, and air traffic was crazy. I've never seen so much. Not even my last deployment. It was a lot. And we get transported over. We go over the river, and I remember seeing the hospital ship that I had seen on the news. It was right there with a couple of cruise ships that they were using, and they were all lined up right there on the river. We crossed over that bridge, and we're staging at a Walmart. Now, what was crazy about that is that I had seen that Walmart like 2 or 3 days before being looted by people just going in and taking whatever they wanted. It was wild. Now I'm in that parking lot, and the NOPD was there, National Guard from all over the place, tons of different elements, and FEMA, and just name them, they're there. And they start kind of briefing us on what we're there to do. And obviously we're there at night to help keep the peace and help the NOPD and law enforcement with that aspect. But we were going to be going into relief effort. And that was a huge pyramid of obligations and operations that entailed. So there was body recovery, there was search and rescue, name it. And so they walked us down. I was looking on my phone while we were talking before the show that we walked from that Walmart parking lot. And somebody who's familiar with that area, maybe if they can help me understand and pronounce this name. So we went to this Walmart, and the name of the street was called Choupitoulas, Choupitoulas Street. Try to pronounce that. Choupitoulas, whatever. We
Yeah,
walked
no, thank you.
from that Walmart down that street. Now, on one side of us was a giant levee, which was crazy to me because it's like the levees were all you were hearing about. And it was the Mississippi River on the other side of Chupa Chupa, whatever street. And there's a big levee right there. And so we walked quite a bit to this middle school that we were going to be staged at and living out of in the Orleans Parish, I believe. And we get there, it's the middle of the night. This old brick schoolhouse. In California, we don't have schools like that. It's all everything's kind of outside. But this is the schoolhouse that we walked up to. I'll never forget. There's big concrete steps. You walk into it. There's no electricity. I mean, it's pitch black, dark, no running water, no electricity, nothing. It's just our headlamps and whatever kind of portable lights we brought with us. And they start bringing in Humvees and 5 tons, and we start offloading MREs and cots and name it. And we're starting to get staged in. So we bed down that first night, and then the next morning we start doing our operations and helping out wherever we needed to be, wherever they needed us. But as the days turned into a week or so, the one thing that stood out to all of us was just how creepy this place was. And when I say creepy, I mean no disrespect to the city of New Orleans, because like I was telling you before, I love the city of New Orleans. It's my second favorite city. And because of everything I'm about to tell you, it was just, it's as if what's that movie with Roddy Piper where he put the sunglasses on and they live, and he puts the sunglasses on and he sees people and they're like aliens, but when he takes them off, they look like humans. Do you remember that movie?
No, I don't.
Oh, Wayne, you got to see that.
Yeah, I remember the movie, but I don't remember the name, but I know exactly what you're talking about. So
I felt like if I had some kind of glasses or something to put over my eyes, I would see spirits. Like that's what it felt like. It felt like history was just like you could feel it all over you. It was, you're walking down these streets in the Orleans Parish and you got the weeping willow trees and the whatever they're called, the eucalyptus, whatever those trees are that hang and these mansions and these old homes. It was eerie. It was creepy. And so, we all that was the topic of conversation, because you got to imagine, here we are, a platoon of guys doing patrols in post-Katrina, like a week after Katrina hit in New Orleans, pitch black and just our headlamps. And if you turn your head, it's completely black. And we were going into these houses. We were told to go in, and there was a procedure we had that we used to go and look for people and different things. So that was the first thing. That was like, wow, this place is creepy. This is different. Like there's something going on here. And so the ghost talk started around, and guys being guys and soldiers being soldiers. But as we would go back, other platoons would be leaving. And it was like that constantly. In that schoolhouse, people started talking. And I remember I was eating an MRE on the back playground, like a staircase to the back where the playground was, and the basketball courts were over here. And then you go around the corner, we had makeshift showers set up. They brought us boxes of water that we just literally put up. Somehow we rigged them up, and we would just cut it open with our knives, and that's how we would shower. And the topic of conversation was that people were seeing things. Now I've never really been a big ghost guy. That's not, I like talking about it. I've never experienced anything paranormal up until that point. And I don't even know what I'm about to tell you is what it is. But people started saying that at night when they go out for their smoke, that they hear children. Now, listen, I've been to combat. I've seen some pretty scary shit. Singing children is like I will beat feet and leave in an instant. So that that was the conversation. People were hearing children playing or singing or tapping on, because it was a 2-story school, and so that was being talked about. So they told us one day, they said, you guys can go into the library and get any books you want. And just put them back. Be courteous, you know? So I started going in there, and now it's a kid's school. So I found the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe series, all the C.S. Lewis books. And I would read them at night. I would lay on my cot, and I had my headlamp, and I would read the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the Narnia books, right? And one night, it's probably, I don't know, man, it's this nighttime, late. And we had our cot set up in this room to where the door, it was a double door going into this big room that we were living in at the time. And so the way my cot was that I was in like the middle rows. So if I looked one way, I'm looking at a back wall, but if I look the other way, I'm looking at the double doors. And I'm laying there on my back, and I'm reading the book, and I went to go turn a page, and out the corner of my eye, what I thought was a little kid run by. But it was like, it ran by, and like I could tell like it had like strings coming out of its hair. And then it dawned on me, that was a little black girl. Like a little black girl just ran by. And I remember I looked at that, and I remember I yelled up, and I said, "Oh, fuck." And the guy next to me was like, "What?" And I was like, "I don't know, man. Like, do we got dogs in here? Like, do we got animals? Like, because it was small, you know, like, I was like, do we got something that would run by? Because I think I just saw something, but I don't think it was a dog. I think it was a kid. I saw like hair, but it was like braided hair running behind, like, and the other guys were up, and they started laughing, and they're like, "Oh, Garcia saw a ghost," and blah, blah, blah. And that was that. That was what I saw. Now, here's where things get kind of weird. So a couple of days go by, and I'm getting teased. I'm one of the lower ranking guys at the time. And we come back from a mission, and they said, "Hey, get all your guys' stuff. Everyone's going to be sleeping in the auditorium." Like, there was a stage set up, and it's where they eat. So, you know, like in schools, how they put the tables into the walls when they're not using them. So like the tables were all pushed into the walls. There was a stage, and then they put all of us in that theater cafeteria. They never said why. They just wanted us all in there, I guess. So now where we were all at one point, like this platoon was maybe in this classroom, or this platoon was where we were. Like now the entire company size element was in this auditorium, and just cots, you know. They never told us why. But as that was going on, like the ghost talk started going up, and it just became kind of like what we all agreed, like, this place is haunted. There were rumors that the school burned down at some point. I've never really researched it. I'm putting together stories of mine that I want to eventually put into a book, so I think I might research and find out the name of that school. But, you know, I don't know. That could have been just some asshole saying, "Oh, it burned down in the past." I don't know. But it didn't stop getting creepy, because there were stories, like guys would come in and say, "Man, I saw kids on the playground last night." And I was like, "Did you?" I mean, I thought I saw a kid run by, but like, did you see kids, plural? And as I was taking those books back, I had to go upstairs and then up the top hallway, and I was going by myself. Yeah, Chapatulas. That's how you say it. Chapatulas. But anyways, it got creepy there, man. It was just a very creepy, wasn't unsettling, wasn't bad. It just felt like there was an energy there. And that was my first 3 weeks there. And from New Orleans, or from there, I started getting introduced to New Orleans. And that's where things really... Go ahead,
Chad. Let me interrupt you for just a second. If you would, tell everybody what your job was, what you guys were doing when you were going house to house, and what you were looking for in the process and everything, because that bothered the shit out of me while you were telling it.
So it first started out like helping out the NOPD, but the New Orleans Police Department kind of had that on lock. They didn't need us, and they were being brutal to people. It was borderline like abuse of power. But so we got tasked off of that, and we got into search and rescue, which some guys got put on in boat units for the flooded areas. We were fortunate enough to be in the Orleans, Jefferson Parish area, and it wasn't at that time underwater, so we were on foot, and we had a Humvee trailing us, and sometimes we'd go out in Humvees, but we'd go into these neighborhoods, and we'd just knock on the doors, and it was the same thing, like super hard. U.S. Army here to help. U.S. Army here to help. And if nobody answered, we'd enter the premises. And that's where we started seeing bodies. My first dead body I saw was just a dude laying on in an alleyway in between like a row of houses. There was a back alley, and there was a dude laying there. And that was the first body we saw. But then we started seeing the bodies in the houses. And second body I saw was a black man. He was laying like halfway in a hallway. Bigger guy, bigger fella. But on top of being big, he was bloated. And, eyes open, eyes kind of protruding out of the head. And, just blood coming out the mouth. I mean, when a human body dies, it releases fluids. And, they don't show you that in the movies. And so it started kind of feeling like Walking Dead, but these bodies weren't coming to life and chasing you. That's what it was. And so I started getting that feeling. I started getting introduced to the smell of dead bodies. If you've never smelled a dead body, there's no real way to explain it other than it's the most, there's nothing like it. And, you'd smell it a little bit, but it really got bad about probably our 4th week there. We got pushed into this hospital area. So in the Orleans Parish, it's a big hospital. I don't know if it's a major hospital in New Orleans, but it was a big hospital. And, we're patrolling through there, and there was a convalescent home. So we kind of posted up front. We went over the net. We started asking, like, "Hey, do you want us to clear this? It hasn't been cleared yet. There's no, there's no spray painting on the outside of the building." So we waited a little bit, and they said, "Yep, go ahead and clear it." Now, the first thing that stood out to me was that when we walked in there, all of like the hospital beds and wheelchairs and anything that could be pushed was on the bottom level. So we were kind of moving tables and wheelchairs and throwing them, aside so we can get to the stairwell. And as we walked up that first stairwell into the second floor, we knew that there was a dead body. We could smell it. And so we went and we cleared the second floor, nothing. So we're like, okay, let's go to the third floor. As we were going from the second to the third floor is when it went from like pungent to the worst smell of a dead body, I think. And I've done a couple of combat deployments since then. And I've to this day, I've never smelled that pungent and strong of an odor of death. So we go up on that third floor. I'm kind of in the middle of the element, kind of coming up. My lieutenant and staff sergeant and another dude went into the hallway, and we're kind of posted up like in the stairwell. Mind you, at the time I'm like a private first class, so I'm like totally not important at the time. I'm just there. And the LT comes in and he starts handing out Vicks, and he puts a little Vicks thing in my face, and I'm like, "I'm good, sir. I don't have a cough or anything." And he goes, "No, man." He goes, "Put it on your lip and shove it up your nose." So I'm like, okay. And then I look at the dude next to me. He goes, "Yeah, man." He goes, it's going to smell bad. There must be a lot of death up there. So I do that. Now I can't breathe. You know what I mean? Because I got Vicks all stuck in my nose. And so I'm like, every time I exhale, it's like coming out. It's a total shit show. So now I'm smelling like Vicks and death. It was stupid. So we go up into the third floor, and the way I remember it is that we came up, and you can go right or you can go left. So the LT says, let's take Alpha, go left, Bravo, go right. And that's what we did. And the way that it went like this, a big square. So we went this way, and then Alpha went that way. and it was so strong. And I remember we turned the corner, we made that left, and then we turned the corner to look down like the first hallway, and there's a dude, and he's sitting there, and you see the back of his head, and he's just sitting there. And I look at this guy, he's an Asian guy, he's another private, and then this specialist, and there's a sergeant, and I look back, and I'm the first one, I'm on point, and I look at the sergeant, and he goes like nudges, like nods at me, and so I walk over to this wheelchair, and I must have sounded so retarded because I was like, U.S. Army, here to help. And as I come up along the side of the wheelchair, it's an elderly guy. He's dead. His head's kind of cocked back like that, and he's just kind of looking like that way. Older guy, frail, like skinny old guy, and we all kind of come around him, and we start taking notes. We start description, mail, all that, and we just keep going. And down that hallway there was, I think, 4 rooms, and in every single room that we came across, we found a dead body. These are people who, you walk into that room, man, and it's not like a hospital room where it's just, what you would see in like a typical hospital. These are like hospital convalescent homes. So there's pictures of them with their family, and there's like personal items. And on one room, what I noticed is that the dude had a tray next to him, like the trays they put on like they put those trays up and bring you the food, and all the medications there. So now we have a name for this guy. So we wrote down his name, and there's just tons of medication, and there's like bottles of water. So the first thing that we concluded was that, okay, they left this guy water and medication, no food, nothing like that. And then we go across the hall. So now we jump across from there to there, and there's a window in this room. The inside rooms didn't have windows, but the outside rooms did. So now, and the window's open. What I saw when I walked into that room, I don't think I'll ever forget, man. They had left him by the window, and this dude was, if you could imagine, it was, a storm came through, so you got clouds, you got overcast, you got all that. But once the storm left, it's hot and the sun's out, and they left that man next to a window where it gets sun for most of the day.
Oh my God.
And man, that he pictures of his family on the tray next to his medication. There was some food left. I think there was a Pepsi for him. He had a lot of stuff on his tray, but just try to imagine what a window with the sun magnifying on a dead body would do for weeks. There was an IV in his arm. The IV had blood that was running down, and it was all dried, and the IV bag was just like, sucked in, like it was just like every ounce of fluid had been sucked out of it. That was pretty rough, man. And just seeing his pictures, his pictures was with him. So I imagine this guy laid there with an IV in his arm and some Pepsi and some snacks with pictures of his family there, wondering like, when the hell am I going to get out of here? And we kept going around, and by the time we linked up with Alpha, they had the same looks on their face that we had on ours. And I remember, again, I'm private first class at the time. I don't have any leadership rank or nothing, but I'm hearing the LT talk to, the staff sergeant, a couple sergeants, and he's pissed. He's like, And I remember hearing him say, he goes, I don't even know how the fuck to call this up. He's like, I don't know. What do we have here? Like, you know, and anger, you know, and that, because then we're all sitting there and somebody said it. Somebody said, they left these people. They fucking left these people. I'm sorry if I'm cussing, but I'm just trying, you know.
No, you're good, man. You're good.
They left them there, and it just, and so we went around again. We took everything we could. We went to the nurses station. There was nothing. There was just, if they had medication, you knew their name. If they didn't have medication, you didn't know. So we took as much information as we could. You know, I had to go in and out of these rooms, man. There was 15 of these people. We ended up counting 15 people left behind. And, you know, I remember within the hour, now we had a lot of people showing up. We had, obviously, chain of command came through. We had I imagine there would be some NOPD, but there was like emergency services, people, you know, people in vests with lanyards and yeah, man, there was a lot of people left behind there, and it became a thing. And we were told, good job, you know, okay, whatever. But as we, you know, went downstairs and now everyone else came in, and now the people with the, you know, the people in charge and the people with the plan, like they came through and they just said, all right, guys, head back to that haunted ass school. And so I left that to go back to the haunted school. And that's when things changed for me, because now I started realizing, like, this isn't Iraq. This isn't Afghanistan. This is America. Like,
right.
That hit me like a freight train. And something happened to me. I think that's when my first sign, that's when mentally there was a shift in me that would continue through the next decade of my military career. That was very, very difficult. And it didn't stop. We found more dead bodies. We found animals that were eaten because gators came through. We found like random animals. There was like parrots and canaries, and name the pet, because people dipped out and left their pets. So we were finding dead cats that were being eaten by other animals, and there were snakes and pythons. And I mean, we'd go into houses in really bad neighborhoods in New Orleans. I don't want to say bad, but, you know, poor neighborhoods in New Orleans, and you'd go into a house and it would have like a Mercedes in the driveway. The whole house is like super nice. And you're like, well, this must have been the drug dealer in the neighborhood or something, because he's definitely not living like every other house that we've been in. The smell of mildew, the smell of just rot, like rotten. And don't even get me started on the cemeteries. Okay. You know, you got to imagine in New Orleans, those of you who've been there, you know that a lot of the cemeteries are above ground. You know, here in California, we put people in the ground. A lot of the ones in New Orleans are like above ground. So when the water came in, you know, try to imagine. It was like Walking Dead. It was like something out of a horror film. And it just kept going and going and going. And I just became kind of numb to it. It was something that man, I mean, it's hard to put into words how I felt, because I was there, and that was just life. And so then people started coming in, they gave us porta potties. They gave, you know, people would come in and give us food. And, you know, then they started telling us as we pushed in, you know, if we go into a Rite Aid or we go into a store, take whatever you want. The mayor of New Orleans, forget the guy's name at the time, he had said, military and assistants, you know, just feel free to take whatever you need. So like I was taking stuff back, not people's personal stuff, but things from stores and whatnot. So under my cot, I had tons of stuff that you can think of, man. But then the voodoo thing kicked in, because the first month we were there, we weren't really focused on, like, you're paying so much attention to everything I just described. But now I'm starting to notice, like, wait, I'm in New Orleans. Like, like, do you guys remember that house? Like, this is what I was telling the guys. Do you remember that house we were at? And everything around it, all the other houses were like destroyed. But this house wasn't. And then they're like, yeah, well, what's your point? And I said, well, do you remember all the shit we saw inside? And we started realizing, and I'm getting goosebumps as I tell you this, that as we would go into some of these houses, you would see like chicken feet and bones, like wind chimes made out of bones, and just weird things in these houses. And these houses weren't as bad as the other ones. So then we started saying, this house was protected by voodoo, man. Like, don't take shit from that house. Like, don't mess with nothing. Like, don't touch nothing. And that happened, God, man, dozens of times. Like, if I had to put a number on it, like 20 times, we'd go into houses and we didn't mess with anything. Like, we didn't, usually we'd move stuff around, you know, we'd kind of, you see something interesting, you touch it, you move, you know, whatever. But in those houses, no, man, like no, because you knew that something like protected this house, or that there was something there. And so we didn't mess with the houses that we called them voodoo homes. And it just kept evolving, man. It was the most intense month and a half of my life up until that point. It was wild. It was absolutely wild. You know, the Superdome, just seeing that, seeing what was going on in the Superdome, and just these people, just the humanity of it, right? And just seeing people whose whole entire lives were just destroyed, and seeing the altercations between the NOPD, violent, like people just wanted to go to their homes, and instead of being told, no, you can't, and the people obviously getting upset, saying, hey, I see these people going in, the NOPD would just tackle them and beat the shit out of them, you know, and send them on their way. It was unreal. I mean, try to imagine, right? I'm 20-something years old, enlisted in the military to go fight terrorists, and my first real impact on my life was not at all combat related. As a young infantry guy, like, I signed up to go kill Taliban and Al-Qaeda dudes. And here I am in this like real world version of a horror movie. It was wild. It was absolutely wild, man.
Chad, tell everybody how you would mark the homes. Did you get a chance to talk about that?
Yeah, so you can Google it, and it's been 20 years. We were talking about it before, and so we'd had spray paint on us, and we would go to a house, and what we would do, if you don't mind, what we would do is we spray paint. It looked like that, okay? And you would put, man, I can't remember what it was, but like if you found a dead body, you would put a 1 right here. Or if there was fire damage or something, like, I can't remember what these 3 were. I got a brain injury, so that stuff escapes me. But that's what we would do. So outside of all the homes and businesses, you would see that. That's what you'd see, and that's what we were doing. We would go search the house, and depending on what we found, that's what we'd do.
So if there were 2 dead bodies, you'd put a 2 in that top 1 or 3.
Yeah, and I might have it might have been here. I don't remember, but it was, yeah, that's what we do, and we'd mark it for dead bodies. I think in total, man, we probably found 50 bodies. You know, 50, and that, like I said, that's not even counting the animals. I mean, you're talking about alligators, man, coming in on the outskirts, and you'd see dogs and cats, and
well, and that's something I didn't factor in, you know, because as a decent human being, you focus on people and their well-being. And my best friend went through that. She lived there with her mother. So in doing research on Hurricane Katrina, I ran across like umpteen million videos, but one video I saw did have 2 people who claimed to have seen a little girl ghost. So you're not the only one. But I'd also seen a video where it was an alligator on a rooftop. And then there, on another house, it was a dead deer. And you don't think about, like the wildlife there that's affected.
That's true.
We were on a boat at one point, and again, no power, no electricity. We had this super awesome million candle spotlight that was like a bat signal, and we were shining it around. And in the distance, I remember saying, I said, "Hey, there's a log." I said, "We got a log or something coming up. We got an obstruction coming up." And when I was saying that, I was pointing the light forward, looking back, telling them. And they were like, "Whoa, that's no log." The log moved. It was a gator. It was huge.
Oh shit.
And I was like, and I'm from Southern California, man. I've never seen, like, come on, like, dude. And I remember thinking, I got in that boat and we're in like a little dinghy, man. I'm like, oh my God. It was intense. It was wild. And the humanity, man, the people, these are people's lives. And as far as that convalescent home goes, I think about that. In the past 20 years, I've thought about that quite a bit. Where are their families? Like, first of all, what kind of person do you got to be because if you're a medical professional, your job is to take care of people, right? So you're telling me that you chose to leave and abandon your post and you left those people? Like, I don't ever know what occurred or what happened with that. I hope somebody saw some jail time or worse, because
wasn't there like a big stink about that? Like the nursing home got sued, or it seemed like I saw a documentary or something about it a long time ago where those people caught hell for what they did.
I hope so, man. And, that wasn't the only one. See, that's the crazy thing, is that wasn't even the only one. There was a couple other ones that had happened to, because we, like, towards the end, before we left, we came across another senior living center, and it was like 6 stories tall. And on the outside, this thing had like 10 or something. Like it happened more than once. So that was my introduction to New Orleans. And I just really fell in love with that place because just the history of it. Because then I started paying attention to like how old this place was. There was this one place. So we were at this one spot, and I remember I'm standing there and we're just kind of taking a break. Guys are smoking and joking. And I look down on the ground and there's these rings, like in the concrete, like on the ground, there's these rings. And there's like these poles and stuff with like, and they have a historical square that you can go and read it. And where we were standing is where they would have the slave trade. And those rings on the ground, those big rings, is where they put the chains through. And that was like holy. Like, then I started like going in that library and reading books and like understanding that, hey, pirates were here. Like the French, the Spanish, the oldest Catholic church in America is in New Orleans. And I just became fascinated with it. This place is unreal. It's like no other place I've ever been. And towards the end, we had to leave. Obviously, like towards the end, we had to leave. Towards the end, before we were leaving, those of you might recall Hurricane Rita came through. So they sent us kind of far out to this gas station. And they said, you guys are going to put up a checkpoint here. Here are some batteries. Here's some radios. Here's some MREs. Hang tight here for the next few days and just help the NOPD. Well, we didn't have smartphones back then. Okay. This is 2005. So we didn't have much of anything. We knew that there was a hurricane coming in. You can see the weather changing. So we're thinking they're going to send a 5-ton to come pick us up. We don't have a vehicle. Well, the clouds got worse. They got darker. The winds picked up. And we realized that Hurricane Rita is right on top of us. So me and like 8 other dudes, and mind you, the whole half of this gas station, the top canopy over the gas pump was like that. So during the day, we'd be under there in the shade. But we realized real quick, like, we got to go inside. So we went inside the beer cooler, and we rode out Hurricane Rita, which was, I think was like when it hit groundfall, it was like a 2. I don't think it was a 2 or a 3, but it was still pretty gnarly, And we rode out Hurricane Rita in a gas station. in a
what
beer.
better place than a beer cooler, dude?
Well, there was no beer; it had already been raided.
Ah, shit.
Oh, that sucks.
There was
You
nothing.
can't even drink.
The only thing in that gas station that for Hurricane Rita were those little horny goat weed pills that people buy. like those weird sex pills. That was the only thing. And we're a bunch of dudes. There was no need for that.
That
So
ain't gonna do no good.
yeah, no. But yeah, we rode out Hurricane Rita in a beer cooler of a gas station, and then the next day that 5-ton finally came, and we left shortly thereafter. I think the next week we were gone. But I always told myself I'd go back. And in 2009, I was leaving Fort Bragg, North Carolina for my new duty station out here in California. And my wife and I decided we were going to do the cross-country trip. So me, my wife, our 2 Chihuahuas, my female was pregnant. So me, my wife, my male Chihuahua, and my pregnant female Chihuahua drove in a 36-foot long Penske truck with everything we owned behind us, down the 95 to the 10 freeway, all the way west back here to California. And part of that drive takes you through New Orleans. And I had a big Penske, so I couldn't stop and walk around. But I remember as I drove through, I'm telling her, there's the Superdome and there's that Tachupalupa Street. And like I remember as I was driving over that bridge and over the mighty Mississippi. I'm like, damn, babe, we got to come back. So in 2016, my brother, who's also a military guy, was stationed in Biloxi, and we flew out to visit him. And some of the guys in my unit that I went to Afghanistan with met us there. We had a little mini reunion, and we went to New Orleans. And let me tell you, man, this is like part A or part B of my New Orleans story. So there's a lot of closure for me, because for me, it's like I had to see all that again. And I didn't get to make it to that school. I didn't get to make it down Chupalupa Street or whatever it's called. But we did go to the French Quarter. We went downtown. We stayed downtown. And I really got to like reintroduce myself to New Orleans. And what I thought would happen was like, well, that's chapter's closed. New Orleans is cool. Move on with my life. No, I felt even more in love with this place, because every city has its history, right? Atlanta, LA, New York, name it. Every city's got history, right? New Orleans history is unlike any other city, man. And I know this because I did a ghost tour. When I tell you that New Orleans feels like there's another dimension living side by side while you're there, it's so real. So we did this ghost tour, and man, we picked the most expensive one because I wanted a good one. I didn't want some bozo giving me a ghost tour. So we looked at the one that was most advertised, most reviews, more expensive, and we did it. And this guy with his top hat, his cane, totally like dressed for the part, perfect host, perfect ghost tour guide, gave us the tour of New Orleans. And off the bat, he started telling us about history of this place and this place. And there was this, here's a crazy story for you. Let me know if I'm talking too much, man.
No, you're good. The more you talk, the better the show is. So
there was this, I don't want to say Saudi Arabian or Persian, but Middle Eastern prince who got a bunch of the house help, a couple concubines, some soldiers, and like fled. Like I think he stole some money or something. It's a true story. Look it up. He fled the Middle East and ended up in New Orleans. Okay. And was like wealthy, was living there. And as he's telling this story to us on this ghost tour, you're outside the house. And he's like, this is it. Like he's telling you the story about where this prince lived and the concubines and everybody. And he's telling you the story about this guy, was very well known in the city of New Orleans and respected, treated everyone nice. And then one morning, they woke up and there was no activity coming from the house. And the gate was open. So the authorities went into the gate. And you're talking like 30, 40 people that were there, part of that prince's entourage or whatever. Everybody was slaughtered. They said the blood was so thick on the ground in that house that like it was like the investigators' boots were soaked. Some guys had come in. The brother or somebody had found out where this dude was, and they sent some assassins. You know, the word assassin comes from Islam, like the Ashish, the Asashi or whatever. They went in and assassinated everybody, beheaded everyone. There was a pile of heads, they said, in the middle of the courtyard. And this dude's telling this story, and I'm like, the courtyard's right fucking there. Like, what, dude? And me and my wife are like, what? And then he's like, all right, next house. And like, I'm just looking at it, like everyone's walking away, and I'm like, what, dude? Like, crazy. That happened.
I need this to process before I can leave.
Yeah, it was. I mean, because you're on a time constraint, but I'm like, dude, wait, time out. So you stop halfway, and they let you get a beer at one of the bars right there in the French Quarter. And I went right up to that dude. I said, listen, man, I spent some time in the Middle East, and I've seen some crazy stuff, but like, tell me more. And he went on to tell me about that story, and wild. So then, we did the ghost tour. I heard a lot of crazy stories, and then I started looking into the voodoo stuff, man, because spiritually, I got my own kind of. Used to be Catholic, and I'm kind of on my own path even to this day. But I've always been into different spiritualities, and I like what voodoo actually is, and how it's a mixture of different faiths and different religions, and the history of voodoo is very interesting. So there's this voodoo priestess. She's very, very famous. She's the most powerful voodoo priestess ever. Her name is Marie Laveau. Okay. And those of you who don't know who she is, look her up. Crazy, crazy story. Her gravesite in New Orleans is something people go to visit. And it's phenomenal. We went and saw it. It's crazy. So there's this voodoo museum. You go in there, and they got the dolls, and they got everything. And, they got this creepy guy working there. And in the very back, there's like this tree. And there's all these little pieces of paper like tucked in this tree. And I asked this guy, I'm like, hey man, like, what's the deal with the tree, dude? And I was telling him like, hey, I've been here before, and for Hurricane Katrina, and I'm telling him all these things I've experienced, and this guy didn't seem to give a shit. He didn't care. I'm like, okay, dude, you don't care, but what's up with the tree right here? And he's like, he goes, you make a request and a wish and an intent. And if it comes true, you have to come back here and give thanks to Marie Laveau and like thank the tree. So I looked at my wife and I was like, oh, okay, and I wrote some stuff down. That was in 2016, and here we are, 2024. And let's just say I need to go back and give thanks to that damn tree. Because I'm like convinced that if I don't, my life, I'm gonna. Annabelle's gonna show up in my house or something. Like, I don't know. But yeah, it happened, and I don't want to say it's because of that, but I just became very enthralled in everything New Orleans and voodoo, and just the history of it, the spirituality, the powerful energy that city has. I don't know if it's on a ley line. I don't know if it's just the history. It's an amazing place, man. Everyone should go there.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely on my bucket list. I've said it many, many times. And before we go any further, Chad, I don't know how much time you have with this. I certainly want to be respectful of your time. But when you were talking, man, when you were describing everything that you went through in New Orleans, I was sitting here trying to prepare something to say, and I have no words, dude. I can't imagine. There's a reason that soldiers, military personnel get so much respect, and it's so well deserved. And it's because of shit like that. Hurricane Katrina happened 20 years ago, and I've never heard anything like that until tonight. This of the 4 years I've been doing this is the most captivated I've been for an hour sitting and talking to someone that I'd never met before. And it's because of your experience in the military. And I wouldn't have known this shit if you hadn't come on and shared it. And I just appreciate the hell out of it. I really do.
I appreciate you, man. I like I said, I'm a huge fan of the show, and I think my wife is, she's walking by right now. I just made my wife and kids do a 5K mud run today, so they're all just waking up, and they're all hungry too. So I thank you. I appreciate that, and it's always weird when people. It's still weird for me when people thank me for my service, because I came home, and
Right.
I wore this bracelet every day, and there's a picture right here on my wall of my soldier that was killed. I got a tattoo with his battle cross in his name, my soldier. Because I was a private first class in New Orleans, right? I was a baby grunt. I was a baby infantryman, and I think in a lot of ways that experience kind of gave me a good foundation for what I would experience in the next, the next 10 years next 9 years that I was in. Because a lot of guys, when a lot of guys were getting shot at and blown up in Iraq and Afghanistan, I hadn't yet. And it was kind of hanging up, during that time, if you weren't going to war and you were infantry, and especially me, being a paratrooper, airborne infantry, like it was hard, not going and coming home on leave, and everyone was saying, dude, like, why haven't you gone yet? But I went to New Orleans, and New Orleans did something to me, and it gave me a foundation, because I think as I was experiencing combat in Afghanistan, I was ready for it. Obviously trained and to do my job, and I was a small kill team reconnaissance squad leader at my highest rank for 140th Recon out of 425 Airborne, and like the job was easy and it came natural to me. But I think having experienced the things I did in New Orleans, when I would see horrible things, my friends getting shot or killed, or innocent people getting injured, that it set the tone. Hey, I asked my son to charge my iPad. It seems like it's not charging. I'm at 2%, guys. My bad.
Okay, you're good.
Hold on. You guys mind if I give me a minute?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you're good.
Sorry.
Crazy.
Believe it or not, I used to host a couple podcasts myself and a radio show. I don't know why it's not charging. That's kind of bothersome. I might lose you guys.
It's my unprofessionalism rubbing off. I'm sorry. I do that from time to time to Wayne too.
Oh, that sucks. It's not charging. Man.
Well, if it's not charging, Chad, we can go ahead and get out of here, buddy, because we're already over an hour.
Yeah. Sorry about that, guys.
You're good,
man.
I'm sitting here thinking this whole time it's charging. And did I freeze?
A little bit,
like
yeah.
A little bit frozen, but we can still hear you, so you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's what happened, man. I think I'm getting shut down. This sucks. This isn't the way I wanted to end it. I'm sorry.
Okay. No, you're good, man. You're welcome to come back and share some more. Like I said, man, I've been captivated this whole hour. And again, thank you so very much for your service, buddy. It means the world to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Your guys' show and Brian's show is a huge part of my life. And, as somebody who's coping with post-traumatic stress on a daily basis and trying to live a proper life and be a good husband and father, man, your podcast get me through the day. I own my own business. If I'm not listening to Brian, I'm listening to you guys, and other shows. So thank you. I want to thank you guys.
That's awesome, man.
Well, we love you, Chad. You know that. We love you. And if you ever need us, you just reach out to us, okay?
I appreciate it. Thank you guys. So sorry about this.
You're good, buddy. You're good. It just gives us an excuse to have you back.
Yeah, anytime.
Exactly.
Let me know.
All right, buddy. Have a good night.
Take care. See you guys.
Bye. All right. Yeah, I was gonna try to go a little bit longer with Chad. Because I feel like there's a lot of stuff that we didn't touch on, but oh my God, were you expecting that? I mean,
No, I didn't know all of what he personally experienced. I can tell you that when I thought that I was going to be solo on the show, I really dug deep into the research on Hurricane Katrina and everything it entailed and the super boom, you name it. And I forced myself to listen to it, even the really hard stuff that he talked about. But no, but that's what's so cool about the show and bringing people on is because we're their outlet to actually open up and share those experiences.
I mean, for the first time in like 4 years since I've been doing this, on 3 years, I'd say 3.5 years, it's the first time I almost got emotional listening to someone talk and seeing them relive what none of us have experienced.
Right.
So few of us, I should say, so few of us have experienced. I can't imagine going in, and I've seen one dead body in my life, and that was my mother. I found her the morning after she had passed away, but it was the morning after, and I could still tell something was wrong, that she was gone, just by looking at her. But could you imagine going in there after people have been dead for weeks?
No, and it's just it is, and that's what I had seen because you gotta think, and it's the news is only going to show you so much. I mean, they're going to make everything sensationalized and all this other BS. But you got to think, I mean, there were jails there. What do you do with the inmates? And then, like he was talking about, the nursing homes. How are you going to get all those people to the buses to evacuate? Do you leave them? Hell no. I mean, that is just inhumane. That is the epitome of disgusting human beings.
I mean, I don't want to sound awful here, and I'm trying not to, but I think we can all agree that someone on life support that doesn't have brain function, that's only being kept alive by a machine, that is different than propping someone up next to a fucking window.
Yes.
So that they can get sunlight. And then
Yes.
just handing them a couple bottles of water and some goddamn granola bars and saying good luck.
And here's your medicine, and here's your Pepsi. See you on the other side. Well, and it's like, it's, and there was another hospital that was still functional. It wasn't charity. It was another one that was dedicated to a lady. I forget the name. The name escapes me. But it was still functional. They still had patients. They still had doctors and staff. Their family members and the patient's family members came in there. Everything was fine. They were still doing surgeries. And then the levees broke. 50 levees of water just took that hospital, took the generator out. There were people, it was mid-surgery. You figure, pain pumps. And then you just think about, and that's one of the ones that really hit me that I watched, was the fact that these people were laying in there screaming because they didn't have, nothing was operational anymore. And they were all left there. All of them.
I can't. Yeah, I don't know what to say.
Yeah. There's nothing to say. There's nothing to say. May God have mercy on their soul. Right. But he does have paranormal stuff. We'll have to get into the paranormal stuff on part 2. But yeah, he does have paranormal stuff.
Yeah, I hope it wasn't too difficult on him to relive all of that. I was a little bit worried about it while he was talking, because it seemed like he got emotional a couple of times. Yeah. I'm sure you have to reliving something like that. But guys, this was a special episode. I've never sat through anything like that. I hope you guys can appreciate everything that you heard tonight. Those of you that are tuning in late, I see Naoma came in late to the party.
Yeah, her son was. Yeah, and her son was on DA. So
go back and listen to some of the stuff that Chad talked about tonight, because It absolutely blew us away. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. You got anything else, ma'am?
I don't. What is today? Saturday? And come back and see us Tuesday. We'll be here again on Tuesday.
We got Miss Gina Black from She Haunts that will be on this coming Tuesday. So excited about that. Hope to see everybody here and more to show up for that one. Guys, until we talk to y'all again, y'all take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Bye.